Hello, hello. I hope everybody could hear me and see. Hi, Gina, Peggy, Chrissy. Hey, Angela. I'm inside the dome of Les Invalides. I came here a couple hours early to make sure we could get a signal. And for most of it in here, inside the dome, we should be okay. But I picked this today because today is the 203rd anniversary of the death of the little emperor. And I'm in this beautiful space. If you have not spent much time in here, you need to come in here. This entire property with the museums and the dome is stunning, and I will show you some details here that you might not know about because they actually aren't very good about sharing what's on the inside here in the dome. They are pretty good about the chapels, but there's not a lot of information. There's not even in the books I have a lot of information, so I've had to really scour the world to find some of this stuff, and it really is absolutely stunning. But we'll start by looking down because here is where the man is buried. So this is the tomb of Napoleon. And he died on this date, May 5th, 1821 at 5:49 p.m. on the island of Saint Helena. And that is where he was locked away, held captive by the British, so he wouldn't escape again. And then it was Louis Philippe that worked with the English starting in 1840 to bring back his, they call it the return of the ashes, but he wasn't cremated. His body is actually inside of there. And he is in there in his little colonel's uniform. I keep saying little. But he was only 5'2", so he wasn't very tall. But, I mean, look at that thing. That is amazing. And this was designed by Louis Visconti, which I think a month or two ago, we did a whole walk about Visconti around the 2nd, and then ending up at Saint-Sulpice. But he is the one who designed this. He also did this little chapel that's behind me. But this is a pretty stunning tomb, and it is red quartzite on the outside, and it's on a green granite base from the Vosges. And you can see the flowers down there because it is the anniversary, of course. And then he is inside, there's 5 layers. And so there's a layer of soft iron, mahogany, 2 of lead, and 1 of ebony. And he is in there, and he has his hat laying there on his legs. But he is inside of there. And this place is amazing. It's also freezing in here. It's not that cold today. It's going to get warmer, but it is freezing in here. So this is another place like the Pantheon that when you come to Paris and it gets really hot, come here and go to the Pantheon. Just spend your day going between these places because it's really cold. You can see around here, you have these allegories of victory, and they were all done by James Pradier. And on the walls, if I go down there, I will lose you. But on the walls, in between them, there's 10 bas-reliefs that are basically all about all these great things that Napoleon did, like the civil code, building projects that he had done all around there. And then in this back one, let me see if I could kind of show where these guys are, is where another statue of him is. And it's also where his son, maybe if I go up. So up here in the very, very tippy-top of the dome, in the center there is that painting reflects Saint Louis and Christ giving Christ back the sword after he dominated the infidels. Then around there you have the 12 apostles. And then in these over here you have the 4 evangelists kind of on these little corners. And I took 1,000 pictures of these earlier, and so I am going to do something with them. It's just hard to know where to put those because I take about 1,000 pictures everywhere I go. But here's something really cool. So see this little band up there with the medallions? I could zoom in here. Those are the kings of France, and they go from Clovis. You have Charlemagne, Louis the 13th, Louis the 12th, Henri IV, Louis XIV, Philippe Auguste, going all the way around here. You could kind of see them. And then in these upper corners too, you have the four spirits. And so there's some basically kind of are the Bourbons, because I'll give you some backstory on this whole building when we get outside. But then, in another thing, see these square ones? Those square ones over the doors, these are all in the life of Louis IX, Saint Louis. So you have SLs on this glass separation back there, and that is the chapel, so the soldiers could go back there, and then Louis and the royal family would come over here. That beautiful, gorgeous altar inspired by Rome was also done by Visconti. It seems like I start to kind of cut out when I move a little bit over that direction, so we'll hold on. But you have these amazing chapels on the side here, and this one, I love this one. And so the four chapels are named after the four saints that are kind of the founders of the church. And this one in here, you have, look, his name is in there, the Marshal Faux. And these are gorgeous. I have a really, really amazing picture my grandpa took of this chapel. And I kind of wish I would have brought those today and I could have shared them with you guys at the same time. But this was done by Paul Landowski, who did My Girl, Saint-Geneviève on the Pont. But this is Chapel of Saint-Ambroise. And you have the top of it is all painted. Different artists have painted all of these. And this one is about the life of Saint-Ambroise. But I love this one. This is so amazing. And you see here, these chapels on the side, they have these really fantastic little information plaques, which I love when they do those. This is the Saint Therese and Vauban. His heart is here. Vauban was under Louis XIV. He is known for building a lot of things around France. If you go like out to Ile de Ré and a lot of places down south where you have these big citadels, he was the one who was really creating a lot of that. And so his heart is here. But look at here, got to turn around. You gotta, like, everywhere you go in this room, you just have to just constantly be spinning around because the views in this room, I mean, look at that right there. That right there with the columns, I'm trying to say capitals and columns is one word. The capitals and the columns, you've got the L's up there, just right above the Corinthian. You can see the L's. And right there at the very center, you have the Sun King, of course. But here's more of Saint Louis. So this one here, go into this chapel here. It's really busy here today, a lot busier than it normally is because there was some end of some run, some military run, but there's a fireman out there. But this is the Saint Augustine chapel, and this is Joseph Napoleon. So not only is Mr. Bonaparte here, but his two brothers. Look at how beautiful, look at that marble. Is that just like, it looks like it could be a big bathtub. It's amazing. And you have Saint-Ambroise up here in the ceiling. The light in here is always just amazing. And they have the ends in the floor. This is some of the only ends you see in the floor because later Louis Philippe, he's like, I'm going to bring back the ashes of Napoleon, but don't get too carried away here, guys. So I'm going to still have my, and just put L's for Louis. When you see that L that's kind of intertwined, it's kind of a blanket Louis. It's kind of started with Louis XIV, but all the Louis after that. So go over here. This is a Saint Jerome. Anybody? There's some cute little gifts like a Napoleon horse. I wanted to see if I could even get you guys into the museum part, but the signal was pretty in and out. So this one here, this is at Saint Jerome. So when Napoleon came back in 1840, it took 21 years for his beautiful sarcophagus to be created by Visconti. So he went in this room. So this is Saint Jerome, and it's also where Jerome Napoleon. I mean, this is pretty fantastic. I'll get a little closer over there. But you could see up here above the door in the details, you see all the gold bees. That's kind of denoting because he was here. This is where he laid to rest till his big sarcophagus was done. And so here you have, this one is, I mean, look at how amazing this is. It's pretty gorgeous. And then this is the heart of his wife. I do sometimes when I'm giving tours, and I'll talk about that, about how some people think it's really odd because you'll have a heart, you know, like in Saint-Germain, it's the heart of the Polish king. And then I'll say like, oh, and then sometimes, you know, like Voltaire's brain is in the Bibliothèque Nationale. And then it's like, oh, and sometimes even the kings, like their entrails, like their intestines are somewhere else as well. But, you know, they just wanted to spread the love, put them, you know, give everybody a little bit of them. See, look at that. I mean, just, I could just literally sit here and just look up and have this view and just be as happy as can be. You have Turin. And so you have those two allegories on either side are for force, meaning two different ways. There's one basically as the military force there on the right because she's got the helmet on. And then this one over here. And then I'll show you downstairs again real quick. And there's quite a few downstairs. There's a huge wall. There are about 80 generals and marshals buried underneath here. And some even just symbolically by putting their name here. But I've never seen it in here quite this busy. But here, look at you gotta see, this is just beyond. Look at how gorgeous that is. And so downstairs below this, you have a huge bronze door. The bronze door was created from a cannon. Should I try it? Should we try it? And if I lose you, I'll just start running back up the steps. Because it is pretty amazing. Problem is it doesn't show me how many bars we have, but we'll just try. Maybe I could just go to the edge. So Napoleon's wish was to be buried at the edge of the Seine with his people. And so that is what is above this door. So this door is made from cannons that were from Austerlitz. And up there you have that written in French, is that he wanted to be on the banks of the Seine. And then you have these two gentlemen here, justice and power. And they're pretty amazing. But look at that. Just gorgeous. And then back here is the church. So we're going to go outside and we'll try to pop inside there. It took me forever to come here and see that actually opened. It was never ever open when I came. But you go right down here and you can walk all the way around where Boney is. When he was on the island of Saint Helena, this young girl, Elizabeth, her family was living there. And so she at first was really afraid of him. And then the two of them kind of had this great friendship for about a year before her family moved back to England. And she called him Boney. Kind of cute. So also here is the Army Museum. There's a few museums here. And it really is one of the most amazing museums. And I try to tell all my clients to come here. Some people are like, I don't know, Army Museum. It is so well done and it is so interesting. I realized after I first came here, the first time I came here, and I wanted to come see this because it was a place my grandpa loved, he would finish because it is massive. And if you really want to look at everything, take everything in, you have to, takes a while. So when he died, And then 1840, when they decided to bring him back, it was finally decided they were going to bring him back. And then in October 15th of 1840, they exhumed his body. And on the 18th, he left Saint Helena, and he arrived back in France, just off the Seine Nui on December 15th, 1840. And then there was a massive parade to basically bring him through there and down across underneath the Arc de Triomphe, his beloved Arc de Triomphe that he never saw built. And he came back, and they made a massive, I posted a etching of it on my Instagram last night, and it was a massive, like huge, like it had 8 caryatides holding his coffin as it came in. It was not this coffin. This was not what they tried to put on top of to be brought by horses. So Les Invalides itself, and it still is today, it is still a hospital, and it's still for injured soldiers and veterans. And that is why it was built. It was originally built by Mr. Louis XIV. But the chapel back here was built later. So I'll tell you more about the rest of the building. But the chapel itself was 1677. It took 31 years to finish. And it was originally, this was not intended to be basically a burial spot. It was the church. And so that part where you saw, where we looked down, so you could see his tomb, that was not like that. So that was all filled in. And so Visconti is the one who won the option to create the plan. And so they cut through the floor so that when you walked in, you'd look down and see the grandeur of his tomb, which really is amazing. But I'm going to show you something back here that very few people know about, and they don't do anything to tell you this is back here, but it's super cool. So here you can see the side. It's starting to rain, of course, because it wouldn't be a Sunday if it wasn't raining. In the last, 6 months that we've been trying this. You have a good gift shop here to the left. You have a kind of sad little offshoot of Angelina here. And then back here, in this little corner, we can't go all the way out there, but that stone right there is his old grave. That was on Saint Helena. So that was his grave marker at Saint Helena. They picked it up and they brought it here, and they have it placed back here, but there's not even a sign. There's nothing back here that says this is even here. And it was kind of very much like this. I've seen etchings of what it would have looked like, and it looked pretty much like this, just kind of on Saint Helena, overlooking, kind of, it was up high, and it just had some trees around it. But we are gonna head over into the center courtyard, and I'll try to move quick, so in case, but yeah, there's a lot. There's usually, I usually come to museums first thing in the morning, so I'm not usually in a museum this late in the day, but this is way more people than I've ever seen here. It's closed tomorrow, and then of course we have 2 holidays this week, but it's closed tomorrow because they are doing a ceremony. So a lot of times when they have the great people of France that pass away, maybe they had a government job or a military or something, or they just have high honors, they'll do a ceremony here in the middle of this courtyard that the president always comes and does. But here in the center, you have tons and tons of these cannons. These are really cool. You have the F for France and the fleur-de-lis, but each one of these and they each have their own little thing on it. This is really cool because that has the salamander. Salamander was the emblem of Francois Premier, which I love. Anything of Francois Premier. And so we'll go out in here. I need to get my umbrella. But this is where they do huge ceremonies. So they'll be doing one tomorrow. And depending is if the president's here, usually it's closed to the public. But I have been here when they did the Pompier one a few years ago when Willie was a part of it. But up here, so this was all built by Louis XIV, but Napoleon kind of took it over. And so you see him right up here. And as we walk backwards, you'll see more of the dome. That's just absolutely beautiful. But this super cool. You see him up there. So he was originally the one, this Napoleon was the one that was originally on the top of the Vendôme column. Not when it fell, but when before they decided, Napoleon III decided to change it, so it was the Napoleon that looked a little bit more like a Roman god. But this one is done by Charles Émile Soyer in 1833, and then it has been moved quite a few times, and then it finally decided to come here. It's pretty amazing. You can't go, you could walk behind it, and you could go on these little doors, kind of where you see those people on the left and right. But it does say something on the front of it, but you can't get close enough to see it. But I do love coming here and seeing him. In the summer, they do one of those things where they project lights and do a whole story, everything on here. Because it was 200 years ago in 21. And so there was a lot of things. And so there's a whole thing they did here on basically kind of the life of Napoleon. But look at just all the details here. So this was originally, it was February 24th, 1670 that Louis XIV decided he wanted to create something for his soldiers because he said they gave their blood for France. He wanted to do something for them. So this whole entire thing was created basically as a hospital for the soldiers and his men. And so it was March 12th, it was a royal edict that was placed saying this is what's going to happen. And the first stone was on November 30th of the same year. It was completed in February 1674. And then, as I said, the chapel took 30 years to be built. Mansart was the man behind it. Colbert, Jean-Baptiste Colbert was the one that was really behind having this built, and he and Vauban were kind of in a little competition all the time, and the Colbert died, so Vauban's like, great, I'm going to increase the budget to build the church like tenfold, and so he did. And the church is the only building in France, in Paris I should say, that still has 24 karat gold. So it's 24 karat gold out there. It takes 14 tons of gold to put on there. And the last time it was done was in 1990. So we're probably going to be up for another coat at some point. 2 more sundials there. These are all over the place. There's 2 more over here. But the museum, it's been a museum itself since 1905, and it is not just one museum, it's a few of them. So you have the Liberation Museum, which is probably the newer of them, and it is really, really cool. It's all about people that basically were given the honor for fighting and helping through the liberation of Paris. And I go in there and I have found my girl Rose Vallon. But you also have in here, there is World War I and World War II that's up here on the top floor. You have down below, you have its medieval. So you have a lot of the armor. There's the armors of Henry IV, armor of Henry II. There's a whole room that looks like this little, armor little army in there. It's really, really cool. And then you have on the other side, you also have from Louis XIV all the way up to Napoleon III. And that is up here, and I walked through there, and it was really cool because there were some new things I hadn't seen in there of Napoleon. They had his death mask, which when he died, he did not, they did not have the proper things they needed to create the death mask. So they did it a day after he died. So I'll post a picture of it because it is a little different, because 24 hours after you die, your body has changed a lot. And they also have his bed in there that he died in. They also have his hat. And there's usually another little room that has one of his tents and his desk and some other things, but it's closed off right now. But they also do some special exhibits here. I just went and they have one called Duels. And I went through, and part of it was kind of cool. The other part was kind of weird. Every museum right now is trying to put sports into something. It's really kind of stupid, and it really doesn't work in the museums, especially if it's a art museum. And so part of it was about duels, as in like boxing and things like that. It's like, okay, it's just not my cup of tea. And a lot of these museums that are doing that, like the Luxembourg has having one right now, nobody's going. I never see a line, and I go by that place at least once a day. So it's kind of bizarre. Even the Louvre is doing one. It's actually more interesting, of course, than the others, but it's a little strange. But you also have up here at the very top on that whole attic is the bas relief. And so the bas relief museum is actual relief models of different these little models that were created for Louis XIV. And it's actually kind of cool. You go in there and you can learn some more about Vauban, because it has like the Citadelle Ile de Ré, and it has all these other ones of, what am I thinking of? The one down on the coast, Marseille, and a bunch of other ones. It's really, really cool up there. There's also a museum dedicated to Charles de Gaulle in there. There's as I said, the Liberation. It's really cool, and you basically just have one ticket and gets you into pretty much anything and everything that you want. You can come into this part absolutely for free, so you don't have to pay to come walk around in here, but once you go into the dome or go into any of the museums, you do have to have a ticket, and it's, I think, 13 euros, 16 euros, something like that. So it's really great, and it's open pretty much every day except for the first Monday of every month, and then a few of the holidays. But tomorrow, I think it's open for like 2 hours maybe in the morning tomorrow, and then it'll close down as they get prepared to do the big ceremony that they'll do here. But it's a really super, super cool place. During when it was 1677 was the Royal Chapel. Oh, here. Should we try to go back and try to pop into the church? We'll try to do that real quick. But they used this. The church during the Revolution, became the temple of Mars. So Mars is the god of war. And so it was the temple of Mars. And then it was pretty badly damaged at some point. But during World War II, this is where they actually used this to kind of hide Allied pilots. So that's awesome, because my grandpa was a co-pilot, but he loved this place. So when the first time I came, I was like, well, I have to go, because my grandpa loved this place. And I, maybe going to, if it was a whole army museum of like camouflage clothing, I would probably not be, I'd be probably, I don't know, this isn't great. But it's so amazing because it's all chronological, especially like the World War I and World War II. And and they tell the whole story through art, through sculptures, through, you do have uniforms, you have vehicles like tanks and things kind of out here on the side. But it's so well done. And sometimes when I have clients, husbands and wives coming, and I'll say, I'll suggest that for the men to come to this. But I do tell the women to come. It's just like I tell them to go, the men also to go to the Dior, because the Dior is amazing, even if you're not into fashion. Okay, we're going to try to pop in. Hopefully I don't lose you. But those flags up here were all flags captured. And the originals were destroyed. And they had replaced all of them, but those were different armies that basically brought all these. I'll try to be kind of quiet. But, the other side. Let's go the other side, because that has the World War II. But it is really, it's no longer a consecrated church. But you still can come in here and light a candle. But look at that cute little door. So this would have been the soldiers could have come on this side. The king would be on the other side, and the soldiers would come on this side. And even the Stations of the Cross. General Leclerc, who we've talked about before when we've talked about the liberation of Paris on the podcast. He's buried here. But that's for World War II. And now you could see the other side. You could see the altar. And then you could see through that glass, you could see the entry to Napoleon. But on the wall, have different people that are all buried here. Oh, and I love the candles that Saint Helena. There's another really amazing little chapel at the military school that's at the end of the Champ Mars, but it's only open that one weekend out of the year in September. Each other to the side, and then we'll go out front. But you have cannons. But it's really great because in the last year or two, they've added all of these plaques for every single one of them. And some of these are 12th, 13th century. Spanish artillery in the 80 Years' War. And here's even older. But they each one has really a beautiful engraving on it. And up on the upper floor, all along the wall here, as you walk into these corridors, there's plaques dedicated to different countries, different people that helped fight in the wars, World War I, World War II. And here, a Louis XIV. And there's even more out front. But yeah, they have all of these wonderful plaques, and in English. They do concerts here too. I thought I had people coming out here, but there still are, they still have soldiers here. I've been here before when I've seen, it's not, the area right off of the church is where they have, where I've seen soldiers say, look at this amazing, the sundials. Some 200 sundials in Paris. But it still is it's a pretty amazing place. And you could I definitely would not say don't do the entire day here. It would be exhausting. At least, I mean, I love museum and I love to read every single thing and take 1,000 pages of notes. And I have about a 4-hour max when I start to get cross-eyed. So it would be a lot if you were coming here to do this. But just come here and pick a side, do like the World War I and World War II, or do the Louis XIV to Napoleon. And it's really cool because here's a great view. Napoleon's horse is in there. So his actual horse that he had, one of his beloved horses, his beautiful blonde horse, died, and they had it stuffed. So it's his real horse. It's got a big N stamped on his rear. They also have an audio guide here you could do, which is great if you want to learn some more. You know, or if you have your sons or husband, or they're complaining about going to too many other museums, bring them here. I gotta get my umbrella out here. But they've been restoring the front of this. I almost fell off that step in the last bit. And so we'll get out here and turn around and I'll show you. This is usually, you could come in both entrances. Your ticket, you have a ticket office. It used to be the ticket office used to be up here. Now it's on the other side by the dome. So, but just get it online ahead of time, because the line, it says again, I said it was a pretty busy day. The line to get a ticket inside was pretty long. So I would just buy it online, download it on your phone before. And they have it where it's kind of like you have a 10, a 12, a 2, and a 4. They don't really look at it too closely. So as long as it's for that same day, they don't really care what time it is. So this is where they used to have all the bunny rabbits too, on the other side. So on that side we have, you know that girl up there. But here we have Mr. Louis up there. Louis Quatorze, so you can see how beautiful and clean that is. So they've cleaned in the last few years this whole entire facade. And looks like they've fixed the cobblestones too, because some of these were pretty treacherous. But it looks really great. And here in the 7th, and if you go straight ahead, it's the Pont Alexandre Trois, and we'll walk over there because they have pretty much, you can't go anywhere in this area in a car. So it has been really, you could walk, but today everything's been closed, so it looks like the whole road in front of us is closed. So let's go walk down there so we can walk in the middle of the street. Oh, there's a few cars. Oh, and then we have, so there's going to be a parade on the 8th, I think. It says Victory in Europe Day. And this year, of course, is going to be a big anniversary for D-Day. So there's going to be a lot going on here for that. Of course, I bought some books in the bookstore, and it's heavy. Here again is a L. You see this everywhere. You see them on the Louvre. You see them everywhere. Thank you, Seth. Look at this. And this has all been cleaned and repainted. How gorgeous is that? Look at that blue. Just gorgeous. I have pictures my grandpa took of that. I really wish I would have brought those for you guys to show you. They have all these French flags out up here. We'll go down there and check that. Walk over towards the bridge. There's a car. We're waiting. They have to take these big things down so they could get the car in. Eek! Well, we don't want to pay chicken with this guy. And we have more cannons out here. And some fleur-de-lis. But look, we could walk straight out here. How fun. As long as we don't get run over. It's a daily thing in life here in Paris. You might get run over by a bus or a bike. Look at this. How amazing is this? I got one of these little blue flowers in the gift shop so I could wear it. The 8th is, the 8th and 9th are both holidays here, but they're not holidays that will affect closures of museums or anything like that. It's mostly just May 1st May 1st and Christmas and New Year's Day are really the 3 that everything will be closed. I think I need to change. But it is May, so that means there's lots of holidays. Look, we could walk right down the street. I'll turn around and show you guys. So has everybody been here before? Has everybody come to the Army Museum before? See, look at that. It's massive. It's really, really massive. Seth, when it comes to, we've had so much rain this last month and a half. It's going to start getting warmer. We're going to get in the 70s this week. And I think even like 10 days from now, it said 80. So we'll see, because that could change a lot between now and then. But it has been really rainy, but not just rainy. It's been so cold. So it has not been fantastic. Are those Chinese? Oh, I think the Chinese president, ambassador, something like that is going to be here. So we have Chinese flags mixed in there. But it is, you never know. I mean, you can't really, I don't think you could say anymore what's normal weather the way the world is now. It could be 100 degrees tomorrow. But I think it will start to get nicer. It's supposed to be this week. It wasn't supposed to even rain, so this is the thing. So I see people on these message boards all the time on Facebook saying, I'm coming in 6 months. It looks like it's gonna rain. I'm like, 6 months? We barely look 6 minutes out. And basically you can't look on any of those weather apps, whatever ones people sometimes swear by. This is the best one. It has all accurate. There's none of them. None of them are right, especially when it comes to Paris. And half the time my phone will say that it's sunny, blue sky, and beautiful. And you look out the window and it's pouring down rain. So just come with layers. You're not going to get, it's not going to get too cold. Like, it's not going to get 30 degrees here, but we've had some days where it was like 40 in the morning, 39, 40 degrees in the morning. But just bring some layers. Look at that. How lovely. So everything is, this is the other thing about Paris. You never know what you're going to encounter as far as what's closed, all of a sudden how you can't get around. It's a total crapshoot. But I'll take you down here. We'll walk to the bridge and say goodbye from there. And next week we'll do another Notre Dame here in a couple weeks, because more and more has been revealed, and there's a lot of really cool things. They should actually have the roof done. They're gonna start revealing parts of that soon, where it's covered with lead. And then they are creating all the pieces that will go along the roof line. They're really pretty decorative pieces. I'll see what when we stop up here at the bridge, I see lots of comments. So let's make sure if you guys have any questions. But I don't always don't know if they like to be filmed too much. But here's some people practicing for the parade. There are cars, but I'm just still walking through the middle of the street. I'm continuing the closure. They just don't know it. We're still closed, guys. That building over here is, hang on, let me get up here. This building on the side is the former Air France, and it's going to be a Giacometti Institute and Museum. It's going to be pretty amazing. Oh, and here comes a red beret. But it is still pretty. My hands are kind of cold, so it's still not fantastic, but it will get better. But we will do that in a few weeks. I also last week went to the pre-opening of the exhibition of all of the 21 restored paintings from Notre Dame. And it was amazing. And I really want to share those with you guys. And so let me know if you can in the comments, because I wouldn't be able to, I can post and write about all of them, but I was thinking maybe of doing it as a kind of just like a Zoom and just do it from my computer, so I could tell you the story of each painting, show you what the painting looked like, the information they had there. They had these little iPads for every painting, and you could scroll up and down to see the before and the after. It was stunning, absolutely stunning. I was so excited I got to go see it before it came up to the public, and I would love to share it with you guys, but trying to figure out the best way so you can see every single thing. They also had pieces, examples of the new furniture that's going to be going in, which I might not be too excited about, but what can you do? So we'll figure that out, because it included the 13 paintings known as the Limays that always came out on May 1st for 74 years. And the Notre Dame still had 13 of them in the church. So, and I'm obsessed with those. I want to also go to some other museums around France where they have some of the other ones, because some of them have been destroyed. We don't have them, but they are kind of scattered all over the place. The Louvre has 13. They never have anything other than 2 on display, which is really annoying, but that's how that works. But here we are. And so this is the perfect, because you have the Golden Dome behind us of Les Invalides that leads on to the beautiful Pont Alexandre III with more gold. And then this basically, you can go all the way across this, go across the Champs-Élysées, and you're almost to Élysée Palace. So pretty amazing. So I think I will leave you guys here, and I am going to go up and take some. I wanted to get some pictures of some stuff on the bridge for something I'm researching. But thank you guys so much. And oh, look, you know what? Let me see any of these comments. If there's any questions you guys have. Oh, there's lots of things. And I know Chrissy's here right now. I know Angela's coming later on. Oh, Peggy, I like that you go separate ways and then you meet up for lunch. That's kind of perfect. Alone time is always great. Oh, okay. Angela, you're so sweet. Yeah, they do. Some of those windows do remind me of Saint-Sulpice. I love everything in those churches. Yeah, June is gonna be warmer for sure. You just never know. I mean, I always look on, I have my phone, the pictures I take on my phone, which is sometimes like 1,000 a day. I back all those up on my phone 3 places: Google, Amazon, and the First over the years. And some of them, I was looking at one the other day, and it was freezing cold here. And the pictures of me, or of videos that I had made that day of me in a linen shirt talking about how hot it was. Yeah, Heather, I think I will be here for the Olympics, or at least for part of it. It is very interesting because everybody, it's not turning out the way everybody thought. Hotels are not sold out. They're at like 40% occupancy. People that had Airbnbs, I have so many friends that were like, I'm just going to put my apartment on Airbnb. They're not getting a single nibble on them. And so it's really, and a lot of the people that do very specialized tours, and businesses that do really specialized, like a friend that has a cooking school, another friend that does food tours, all of them are saying that their reservations are down like 70-80%. Some of them are thinking about not even opening. So it's really interesting because, and the gentleman, I can't remember his name, but the guy that's on NBC News, or NBC Sports for the Olympics. Like, he is the guy. You would recognize him if I showed you. He was in Paris a few weeks ago and walked around with my friend Jacques, and he was basically just wanted to get this feel of Paris and history. And he was telling him that this was what happened in London as well. Everybody thought, oh my gosh, everything's going to be, you know, we'll skyrocket the prices of things because why not? We can. And then people didn't book, and there was parts of the city that were just completely quiet. There's going to be a QR code to get around into some neighborhoods. So I think in some places like my neighborhood, because I'm within the QR code limit, I think there's going to be times that's going to be absolutely magical and absolutely dead and quiet. But if I'm doing a tour, how do I get people around there? How do you register them to get a QR code when you can't say they live there? So it's kind of, I don't think it's as much, but they do, he did say that what happened also in London and in other cities when this happens, the next year, the tourism is through the roof. So if you were going to wait and come in summer of 2025, I would probably avoid that, because that summer I think is going to be even busier. But there are going to be things like, you know, museums are already, you know, the Louvre already sells out. And a new thing that the Louvre just added, which really kind of ticks me and a lot of people off, is that normally if you have the membership or the special cards to get in, you just waltz right in, you have your own entrance. They're going to make you get a ticket. So even though it's a free ticket, you're going to have to register a time slot. So that's going to be really hard, because all the time I'm like, oh, I'm going to go in tomorrow morning because I need to go find this one painting or do this research, or I just want to go and spend an hour in the Louvre. For basically from July 1st till September 1st, that's not going to be an option. You're going to have to think ahead and book a ticket. I'm hoping they're going to have a special thing for members' tickets, because otherwise I'll just go on and I guess book a free ticket for every single morning for 2 months in case I want to go inside. But it is kind of, it's going to be very interesting. I think, honestly, I think the build up to it with how everything's going to be shutting and bridges are going to be closing and the K is going to close in June, I think that's going to kind of be worse. The Olympics itself is 2 weeks. You'll have 2 weeks off, and then the Paralympics, and the Paralympics is not as huge of an impact as far as visitors, and you know, it's not as long, and I don't believe it's as many events. I'm not sure, but it's just going to be interesting. But it's really only going to be 2 weeks, so I think it'll be fine. Yeah, inflation, you know, here it's funny, they all complain about the price of food at the grocery store, and here compared to the United States, it is ridiculously inexpensive. Meat, chicken, fish could sometimes be expensive here, but everything else is so ridiculously cheap at the grocery store here. It's laughable to what you would pay for the same things in the United States. I mean, literally like tenfold is what you would pay. So kind of crazy. But anyway, thank you guys so much. We'll give you one more look at rest in peace, little emperor. You know, he's we got a little party going on here. He's kind of sometimes a problematic figure, but he did also do some good things. And you know, he was an egomaniac. And if you watch the movie, just take that with a grain of salt, because it was done more for an American audience than the actual French history of what really happened. So, but you should watch it because it's pretty good. It's on Apple TV too. I wish there was more Josephine. That's my only thing. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And I will see you next Sunday. And make sure you follow my Instagram. If you want to send a tip at all, you could do that to Claudine at ClaudineHemingway.com on PayPal or Venmo. And I hope to see you guys all around this week and next Sunday. Thanks, guys.